This is the new Suzuki Swift, and whilst it looks incredibly like the old Suzuki Swift, it is completely new. The new Swift has a smarter looking front end and beefier wheel arches than the old car, as well as large and distinctive rear lights. This is all designed to make the car appeal to younger people, while more mature buyers, Suzuki hopes, will go for the Swift's sister car, the Baleno. Now, whilst the new Swift is a little bit larger than the old Swift, the boot is still a little bit smaller than you find on the Ford Fiesta and a Kia Rio. There's also quite a large lip and a drop down into the boot floor, which you can tell with the extra large car buyer suitcase, because it is a bit of a struggle getting it in, because it's so high off the ground. I also don't particularly like this cheap and nasty parcel shelf. It just feels like it's made out of tissue paper. And whilst it's good that this car has 60/40 folding rear seats, when you actually fold them down, there is still quite a lip from the bottom of the floor to the back of the seat. It means loading larger items through into the cabin is just a little bit more difficult than it really should be. Now, you could never say the old Suzuki Swift had a lot of space in the back, but the new one is an awful lot better. Now, I'm just over 5'10", and I've got a good amount of knee room, and thanks to the boxy dimensions, headroom is pretty good as well. Now, if you're over 6 foot, you can still fit back here, because you can put your feet underneath the seat in front of you and you can slouch a little bit. Now, if you want to carry 3 people, it's absolutely fine. There's a small hump in the floor, and the middle passenger is actually quite comfortable. The seat is nice and squishy, and whilst there is a bit of a shortage of shoulder space, it is absolutely fine for a Super Mini. Elsewhere, naturally, you've got I6 points in both outer seats for those child seats. Step into an entry-level SZ3 and you'll get air conditioning, a leather steering wheel, digital radio, Bluetooth and front electric windows. For £2,000 more, the SZT gets things like a rear view camera, while this SZ5 gets sat-nav, forward collision warning and keyless entry. Up front, and it's a bit of a surprise because the Swift has actually got quite a stylish dashboard. I love the large dials, and the air conditioning controls look really very smart. The coloured panel across the top of the dashboard and on the doors really breaks up the sense of grey in here. Yes, Suzuki has used quite a lot of grey plastic in here, and whilst it is all screwed together, none of it is of a plush, soft material. A VW Polo, it is not. Now, cubby-wise, well, there's a couple of cup holders down here, a little tray for your mobile phone and some charging ports. We've got another cup holder down here, but the Swift doesn't have large enough door bins to fit the car buyer big bottle, and nor is the glove box large enough for that bottle of water either. It's a bit of a shame, really. Basic Swifts get an 89 bhp 1.2 litre petrol engine, and amazingly it's available with 2 or 4-wheel drive, and there's even a hybrid system, but more of that later. The better engine though is the 1 litre Boosterjet Turbo with 110 brake horsepower that's punchy and economical. In the SZ5 version, the Boosterjet comes with something called SHVS. Now, it's not something you need to go and see your doctor about. It is in actual fact what Suzuki calls its mild hybrid system. Now, it doesn't mean you get electric, silent running like you get in a Toyota Prius. It is in actual fact a system that stores the lost energy you lose through braking and uses it to assist acceleration. Now, you can't feel it actually working, but it does improve fuel economy. And it really does, because this tiny 1 litre turbocharged petrol engine is in actual fact returning over 50 mpg. And that is pretty damn good. Claimed fuel economy for the basic 1.2 and the hybrid version of the 1 litre is identical at 65.7 mpg. If you go without the hybrid, the 1 litre's figure drops to 61.4. If you're counting the pennies though, avoid the auto. Not only is it sluggish to change gears, but you'll be getting a claimed 56.5 mpg. Now, the old Swift was always a great car to drive, and this one I think is even better. The front end on this car is so responsive, there's so much grip. The steering is lovely and direct as well, and the gearbox, this 5-speed manual, is really very snappy. Now the downside to this car, well, the ride is actually really quite firm, so it means this car really fidgets about when you go over potholes. Now, there are rivals which are just as fun to drive and are more comfortable. And there's another downside to this car as well. It's actually really quite noisy on the motorway. A VW Polo and a Vauxhall Corsa are a lot more refined. Not only is the Swift a little fidgety on the road, inside the scratchy plastics aggravate you after a while, and the infotainment system is laggy and frustrating to use. The Swift also isn't particularly cheap. Click the link to see how much Suzuki is charging for the Swift. Just like its predecessor, the new Suzuki Swift is a very likeable car. It looks good and for the most part is fun to drive. Niggles aside, it's still an attractive choice in the class. If you've enjoyed this video, watch our review of the Kia Rio or our Super Minis playlist. Please like and share our video, and you can subscribe to our channel by pressing the Car Buy logo.